Impact and all the amazing things that she does, including her podcast. She has a load of resources for, well, lots of different people. Actually, do you know what? I'm going to let her tell you the story. Megan, thank you so much for joining me. How are you today?
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me here. It's a pleasure.
So I actually heard Megan on a podcast, it must have been a good 6-9 months ago now. And I reached out because I just thought that it was amazing, your story. And I thought it's definitely worth sharing again with other people that listen to this podcast as well. So Megan, I just want to start because obviously my podcast is all about personal branding and it's about your personal story as opposed to what it is you actually do and the effects, etc. But like what led you to it. So I want to start all the way at the back, and I'm just imagining that you're in school, you're 15 years old, and School of Impact is not even like on your mind at this point. What did you think you were going to do when you grew up?
Yeah, it's a great question, actually. 15 years old, I didn't really know what I was going to do. To be honest with you, I wanted to help people, but my parents said you don't make money helping people. And they were a nurse and a teacher, and they were, they wanted us kids to be more financially settled and secure than what they were. But I thought I'd probably either be a social worker, a counsellor, a teacher, or a humanitarian aid worker. So something like that. But really, I just wanted to have fun when I was 15 and just socialise and help people.
It's really funny though, because when you think back to when you were in school, nurse and teacher, well, they're jobs that we all understand. They're they're things that we're told about. Whereas the jobs that we do now, especially as entrepreneurs, they're nothing like what we ever thought we were going to do. I don't even know if our jobs existed.
No, well, I didn't even know what an entrepreneur was. And when I was 15, this is showing my age, it was, I was born in 1982. So it was like 1997. And so, the world of social media wasn't even around then. I think the internet was just coming in, but it was really like only very few people had email probably back then.
Yep.
So I didn't even know what an entrepreneur was. So it wasn't even in my, line of even thinking. And all I knew was that I talked a lot and I like to help people. And I thought, surely there has to be a job out there where I can help people and talk a lot. And what do you know? I created it.
It's so interesting though, because even when I started my business, I didn't identify as an entrepreneur. Entrepreneur sounded like a fancy word, and I was like, "Oh, that's not me. I'm just doing my thing over here." So it's a hard one to get your head around.
Yeah, for sure. And well, it wasn't until because I ended up becoming a teacher because it was safe. I was good with people. I was actually a really great teacher. And yeah, up until I was 32 or something. And my friend told me, I was telling him that I didn't want to be a teacher anymore, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. And he said, well, why don't you think about studying life coaching? And I'm like, that sounds so naff. Like, come on, who has a life coach? Because I never heard of life coaching before. Yeah. And he goes, no, seriously, I think you'd make a great life coach. And then I looked into it and I was like, oh, okay, this isn't so bad. So yeah, it is interesting the journey that we go on in life that lead us to where we are now.
So what were you teaching when you for your first career?
Yeah, so I was a primary school teacher for 4 years and then a high school teacher for 3.5 years. So my degree was from prep to year 10. So I taught upper primary and junior secondary. Yeah.
Now, is that where your passion for helping young children, because you actually went overseas and that's where the passion kind of sparked, wasn't it?
Yeah, so when I was studying teaching, I always wanted to go to Africa and make a difference. From the time I was about 6 years old, there was a famine in Ethiopia. And I said to my parents one day I wanted to make a difference. And they were like, yeah, okay. They both had very caring, nurturing professions. And so they really encouraged that side of who I am. And so when I was 22, I went to Zambia and I was halfway through my uni degree at the time and I taught over there. And then I came back and then I was graduated and was teaching for a few years. And then I just had this strong impression that my husband was working as an accountant as an auditor at PricewaterhouseCoopers. And I just said to him, we had both really stable careers, working our way up. And I said, I think we need to take a year off and volunteer overseas. I was like, what? So I'm like, it was part of like what I said to you when I said, if you want to marry me, don't expect a normal life. And you agreed. And this is kind of part of it. It was like, oh, okay. So we ended up going to India for a short time, and we lived with children whose parents had leprosy, and I helped set up school, and he did some auditing of the not-for-profit and did the admin side. And then we went to Zimbabwe, and my friend that I met when I was 22 in Zambia, we stayed in contact with him. I met him at a bar. It's the most bizarre story. And I was like letting off steam, 22 years old, just seeing kids die of AIDS. And I met this other Aussie guy, and I'm like, hi, oh my gosh, I was pretty kind of gone by that stage. And he was telling me what he was doing in Zimbabwe with orphans and stuff. And I was like, oh my goodness, I need your details. Wrote it down. 5 years later, I still had his details on like a kwacha note, which is like their dollar. And I contacted him, and he's like, well, we've just housed these kids that were living on the streets. Do you want to come over and run a school summer program for them? Because I was we took off that year, my husband and I said, sure. So we ended up in Zimbabwe, and I was there because I thought I was going to just do some teaching for these kids that had just been housed from living on the streets. And one night, 2 weeks into this 3-month volunteer time there, I was sitting down, and there was this 11-year-old boy, and he was in my arms, and he was telling me his life story about from the time he was 6 until the time he was 10 years old. He was living on the streets. He ran away from home because he thought he was literally going to die from the abuse he received in his home. And on the streets, he received the most horrendous abuse, we can imagine. And as he was sharing in quite detail his story, tears were just streaming down my face. And I thought, what do you say to a child who has just experienced the worst horrors that a human being could ever experience in life? Like, I can't look at him and say, don't worry, it will be okay, because it's not okay, and I don't know if it will be okay. So I said the only thing that came to my mind, and I said, if you could have anything in this world, what would it be? And he looked up at me with his big brown eyes, and he said, Megan, all I want is to go to school. And that was a pivotal moment in my life where I knew that the words that come out of my mouth next was literally going to shape the course of my life forever. Was I going to be like other volunteers that just kind of go over there, do a token gesture and then leave? Or was I going to do something sustainable that was really going to be impactful long-term into these children's lives? So I looked down at him and I said, what just came naturally out of me, and I just said, for as long as you need to go to school, you will go to school. And it kind of snowballed from that, where I spoke to this local organisation. We employed 2 teachers. I wrote a curriculum to last for 3 months. I tested the kids and put them in ability-based learning groups. There was 12 of them, sorry. And then it just kind of went from there to now. We established a charity. We've raised about $500,000. We've educated over 100 children. We've bought a school building over in Zimbabwe. We've employed, more than 10 local people, and we've had our first graduate from law school, a girl who graduated from law school, and now she's got a job in a law firm. And
that's incredible.
And we've had our first graduate that went from prep. And she's finished the equivalent of year 12 over there, her A-levels, and she's going to be studying teaching. And guess what she said when she was 9 years old, when she started in our school? And I've got a photo, and I've got this on video, that when I grow up, I want to be a teacher, and now she's studying teaching.
Oh, that's so lovely. I love that. So you were meant to go traveling for a year. How long did you end up out there in the end?
We tried to change plans because my husband and I just loved it, but we were there for 3 months, but we went back. Well, I went back every 12 to 18 months. But because I was teaching here, I was really limited with how long I could go for and how often. So I've been about 5 times, but then I had children, and I haven't been in 5.5, 6 years. I haven't been back because I had 2 kids really close together, and then COVID happened. So we meant to go last year, but that couldn't be the case. So we don't fully fund the program anymore. We have handed it over a lot to the local organisation. So we fund about a quarter to a third now.
That's incredible. So, but you've started something, and obviously you were running it, or partially running it from Australia and managing it and the curriculum and stuff like that. I love that. I think that's incredible. And to have that many, 100 children doesn't sound a lot when you think of our schools have thousands of them in it. But that's 100 children that otherwise wouldn't have that education at all. That's a lawyer and a teacher, at least, that we know of, that wouldn't have existed.
And that little boy now, he's now, unfortunately, due to COVID, all the schools have been closed for nearly 12 months, the night schools. So he's had to pause his education, but he's working full-time at the babies orphanage from the guy that I met when I was 22. He started it, and now he's working there full-time, and he's doing phenomenal. So he's one of the carers there for the little babies until night school opens. Then he's going to finish his O and A levels at night school. So his story's turned out well too.
What an amazing journey. I love that. Yeah. Tell me a bit more about what it is that you do in business, because that's amazing, but that has to be funded somehow. So there's also a lot of fundraising, and there's also working as well. Tell me a bit more about what it is that you actually do.
Yeah, so I work with socially conscious female entrepreneurs who really want to make a positive difference in this world, and I help them grow their business, make meaningful money. I help them scale and really connect to their mission and their purpose to make a bigger impact. So I call myself a business coach, but with a holistic focus. Yep. So I truly believe that we can't thrive in business if we're not in alignment with our mindset, or with how we're living our daily lives, with our habits, with our health, our well-being. So yeah, I run a program called School of Impact for female business owners, and in that we focus on our well-being, on our mindset, and on business strategy. So we've got that 3-tiered approach, and that's how I approach all my coaching with my clients, because I truly believe that when our life outside of our business is in alignment, then we thrive even more in business too.
I think that's really important, especially the mindset piece, because we get into business, we're like, okay, who's your ideal client? Okay, tick, we know who that is. Or what are the marketing channels? What budget do we have? What are our goals? All that kind of stuff. And the stuff you can put down on paper, but it's what actually stops you from being able to achieve any of that is you going, oh, don't know if I can do that. And it's that mindset jarringness. And I think that when you start in your own business, like the imposter syndrome, I'd never heard of imposter syndrome until I started my business. And now it's like, oh, it's that thing where you go, oh, not sure I'm the right person to do this. And I think that's a massive part of the business piece that goes we just don't talk about it as much as we should.
Yeah, I think because the women that I work with, their biggest fear isn't actually failure, it's success. And so therefore the mindset component is huge, because we can fall into self-sabotage loops and imposter syndrome. And the reason why I say they're more likely to fear success, because, well, am I worthy of this success I desire? And will I have to leave people behind? And then that triggers the money mindset. What does that mean if I start making a lot of money? And, I want to make a positive difference. Are they mutually exclusive? And so a lot of my work that I do is around mindset, around, sales, our mindset around sales, and our mindset around making money. And the more money people who care about this world, the more money we make, that's how we make an impact in this world. And so it's about shifting how we view certain things based on our childhood, based on our, beliefs, mores, our culture, our environment that we grew up in, because we form the basis of our beliefs between the ages of 0 to 7. And so a lot of my work initially with clients, when I'm working particularly one-on-one, is looking at, if they're triggered with imposter syndrome or with fear of being judged or whatever it may be, it's saying, well, what's the underlying belief, and what are you thinking around that? Because our thoughts create our beliefs. And when did you decide that this was your reality, was your truth? And generally speaking, it's 0 to 7 is when we can bring it back down. And because I'm NLP trained as well, I do a bit of NLP work, and we can clear up, and it's loving that inner child, that voice, you're not good enough, you're not worthy, you know, who do you think you are? Can you really do this? What will people think? And it's about nurturing and loving that voice, which psychologists call our inner child in the process, so that we can do those launches, that sell that product, increase our prices, put ourselves out on social media. So yeah, mindset is more than business strategy, for sure, in the success of our business.
When you're talking about the women that you work with, they're obviously ethical based as what, that's the core of what you work with. Do you find that there is a massive tie there between, I want to be ethical, but also making money, and there's a conflict there?
Yeah, I think that there definitely can be a conflict there. And there's also a lot of confusion around that too. And so for sure, like the women that I coach, they like, one is a fashion designer that makes sustainable and ethical products, but she wants to scale and grow so she can make more money. So how does she do that without compromising the ethics of the rag trade, for example? So there are definitely logistical things, as well as mindset issues as well. Like, can I charge people which means only certain people can afford my services, but what about everybody else? What about all the people that can't? And so it's about realizing that you can charge more and work with people that can pay that, and then channel that money that you're making into donating to not-for-profits that help the people that can't pay for your products or services, or whatever it may be. So definitely there is mindset shifts needed around service and making money, and that we can help, we can serve, we can really care about things. And in fact, I truly believe that when we do create more wealth just amplifies what's already in your heart. So I say to the women in School of Impact, if you don't give a shit about things that matter now, you're not going to when you make more money. And so if you only have a little bit, but you give a little bit, then money's just going to amplify that. And how incredible will that be when we build up our businesses and make more, so that then we can give more to causes that truly matter to us?
Yeah, I firmly believe that as well. I think that, there's a connotation sometimes about being rich, it's bad people are rich, when I don't really believe that at all. I think that, we need money to actually have an impact and to have influence over things that actually matter to us. So the more money you can bring in personally, the more you can distribute to the things that are important to you. Yes, you can spend it all on yourself if you want. That's your choice. But
your choice.
Yeah, you do what you like with it. But, money doesn't buy happiness, but it certainly buys the things that make you happy.
Yeah.
And in a lot of cases, and I think the more you have, and not even the more you have, because that's not even true, because sometimes the people with the least are the people that give the most. There's a massive sense of fulfillment in giving. It's even, look at Christmas. How much more joy do you get from giving a Christmas present than you do actually from receiving Christmas present? And it's the same, but amplified if you can actually have an impact on something that really matters to you. So I love that connotation where it's your business, although it's completely irrelevant and totally not related to the cause that you're passionate about, it can still have an impact because
exactly. Yes, yeah, that's exactly right. So and just touching on what you were saying before about giving is it creates an abundant mindset when we give. And so I think so often when we are so scared of giving when we don't have much, it's because we're in a state of scarcity and we think that we're not going to be able to earn more. We think our earning potential in our business is capped, or we think, that there's a limited amount of resources out there for us. And so when we give a little bit, it's opening ourselves up to receiving more too, energetically. And I think that's what people don't realize. Like with the work that I've done in my charity, my husband and I have donated large sums of money, and yet we have never, been destitute. And we've been able to raise, we raised $40,000 in 1 month with no major donor. And the reason why we did this we could do that was because I truly believed in what we were doing, and I truly believed that the money would come in. But my husband and I also took action, and we put in our own money too, and it came to us. And I think that those principles are the same with running our business. You've got to take action, have faith. You've got to, have some kind of plan in place, because we had a strategy for how we're going to raise that. And we just put it out there energetically, and we were open to receiving, and it came. And these principles apply to business as what they do to not-for-profit as well.
Yep. No, definitely. So what are some of the biggest challenges that you have faced since leaving the teaching world, which is nice and safe? You get your curriculum, you turn up and you teach kids and they smile and it's all good, to going out there on your own? What have some of the big challenges for you been?
Yeah, so the first, it was an identity shift. I was really actually embarrassed to even put it out there on social media that I was a coach. And I thought, what are people going to think? It triggered all of that imposter syndrome, right? I'm a teacher. Why would people see me as a coach and stuff, even though I studied it and all the rest of it? So it was a huge identity shift. But then my business grew quite quickly because I started doing education consulting, and because of my teaching background in NLP, schools really loved that. So my business grew quickly, and then I got pregnant with my first, and I got terribly ill, so I had to wrap everything up, and I didn't work for 3.5 years because I had 2 kids really close together, and very challenging experience becoming a mum, where I got postnatal anxiety and mild postnatal depression, so that I had to move through that. And as a process of healing through that, I actually wrote my first program that I launched 2.5 years ago when I went into my business now, Jaworski, and it was to help new mothers with their identity. And so it was like I could use my experience to help others. And now I'm, working with female entrepreneurs, which I absolutely love. But it hasn't been easy the last 2.5 years. So in the middle of last year, actually, I actually did a launch and not one person buyed. And it was in Melbourne, and it was when we were just about to go into the most harsh lockdown for 3 months. We obviously didn't know it would be 3 months at the time, but it was a really crazy time in the world, as we know, the middle of 2020. Everything was up in the air. My business was going down, and I was, looking at earning a few $100s for the month, and I was beside myself. And I was just like, how am I going to turn my business around? Homeschooling like 2 little kids. I had a 3 and a 4-year-old at the time, and my husband was working, and literally all I had was 2 to 3 hours a day, really early, from 6 a.m. till 8 a.m. and then in the evenings, and then I was with my kids all day during lockdown. And I thought, how am I going to turn it around? You know what? I'm just going to get a job. And I asked my husband, can you ask, because he worked for a not-for-profit, I said, can you ask if there's any positions in the education and training area if you're not for profit? And he already had spoken to people. I was ready to give up on my dreams. And then there was this little thing inside of me that said, Megan, no, your mission is so much greater than this setback. Come on, you started a school in Africa, like you've done really challenging stuff. You've healed from postnatal depression and anxiety. This is not going to break you. A pandemic is not going to break you. You're stronger than this, So I gave myself that pep talk. And so I ended up turning my business around, and within 2 months from this point, my lowest point in business to date, within 2 months I was earning 5 figures a month, and then a few months later, multiple 5 figures. And it was truly remarkable, the process of how that happened, which I'm happy to share briefly if we have time now.
Oh, yeah, definitely, because I don't think that that's talked about enough. We talk to people, and generally speaking, when we're listening to podcasts, we're always speaking to the success stories. I had a 6-figure launch, and it was so easy. I just did a masterclass and everybody swooped in, but we don't talk about the 10 that I did before that 2 people showed up for, and nobody bought. We just don't talk about that part, and I think that
thousands of dollars we lost paying on Facebook at a launch, which was me.
Yeah, because that's the answer. All you need is Facebook ads. And that's the thing when you're an entrepreneur, because as soon as you're labeled as an entrepreneur, the adverts you get and the shiny things that you need to go after.
And that's my downfall, actually, because so there's a lot of reasons why my business, that launch didn't work and it was where it was. But what helped me turn it around so quickly was, well, firstly, it was my mindset, having a purpose greater than myself, which is the ripple effect of change. If I can help female entrepreneurs grow a business that they love, that's making a difference in the world, then they make a bigger difference, and it's creating ripples. So I was just like, I held on to that. But then I got, and this is where strategy does come in, and it's really important. I know, because you're a branding marketing person, that you would really agree with what I'm about to say next. But it's really important to have a very clear and powerful message to attract the exact people you want to work with. And I did not have that in my launch, because I didn't really know that I could even attract these kind of people. I know that sounds strange to say, but I thought I was being too specific, so therefore no one would want me. But the opposite is true.
Yep.
You know, and I know you know this, right? And so when I started to speak to a particular type of person and just narrow in on that and get really clear on the transformation I provide for them, that's when everything changed, literally. And that's how it went in 2 months, from 400 to 17,000.
Yeah, look, I every day I see this. It's so true. The more niche you are, the more success you will have, definitely. And I'm a big believer that you don't niche too early. I mean, we're in our 30s and this is us niching down. You've got to have lots of experiences, and you've got to know what you do and don't like, who you do and don't like as well, who you're trying to attract and who you're really trying to deflect as well.
And it's interesting, because I actually said in a webinar it was my most successful one in March this year. And I actually said, if you're looking for a coach who's going to be throwing money up in the air and sitting in a bathtub full of money, and going on private jets and showing that, that's not me. It's not because I'm against that. I'm not triggered by that. I want to make that much money that I could sit in a bath full of money, but it's not for that purpose. It's because I know what that money can do. And so I want to attract women who align to that, who want to make that much money, but yes, to provide for their family, yes, for financial security, yes, to go on a beautiful family holiday and buy that cute outfit, of course. But then it's about what it can do to make this world better. And I had 2 people sign up because they said, I really loved how you said who you're not going to work with. And I was scared saying that, and I said, there's nothing wrong for those coaches that do that I think is great. We need all different types of people, but this is who I'm for.
Yeah, no, I think it makes a massive difference in anyone's business when you are super clear about who it is you work with and also who you don't work with. And I think a lot of people, they get very scared, especially early on, but especially if you're bringing in $400 a month at this point. If someone says to you, I want to sit in a bath full of money, you're probably like, oh, yep, okay, cool, yep, in you come, I'll help you, because you feel like you need to. And at the start of your business, like anyone who's listening to this and at the start of their business has got some clients that are not their ideal client, don't feel bad about it, because these are actually great experiences, because they will, if anything, they will hone you in to exactly who you do want to work with.
Exactly. And now I work with incredible people. Like I work with fashion designers. They have their yoga meditation teachers, confident photographers, kinesiologists, that they're all different industries, because I niche on values, not on industry, which was also something nobody ever taught me. It was actually me doing the marketing seminar with Seth Godin that helped. I studied his thing, and I love his philosophy. But the other thing is so I said, have a mission greater than yourself, know who it is you're speaking to and the transformation you provide. And of course, you have to take action even when you're feeling afraid. And I'm not talking about feeling afraid as in I shouldn't be doing this and going against your intuition. It actually takes listening to your intuition more than anything else and taking action from there, even when you're afraid. And I was scared. Like, I spent the last 12 months, I've been scared every week, been putting myself out there. But that's how we grow, is by getting out of our comfort zone. So it's really important that you take inspired, intentional action towards what you want as well.
Yeah, some of the best advice that my mum ever gave me is dress for the job you want, not the job you have. And while that can be quite superficial in sense of, like, you know, wear a power suit when you walk into an office, I think it still has a lot of value when we talk about social media and turning up, especially because we have online businesses, you know, on Instagram, and that's where you and I are connected. You look like you're showing up, you look like you're confident, you look like you're walking the walk. And I think that that is really important. It's fine to have those vulnerable moments, and they are important as well, but we don't have to put everything out there, because you are trying to attract the right person. And I think with this, you know, authenticity, like the most overused word, I mean, I have a love-hate relationship with it. You've got to be authentic, if not you're acting. But it's also got a lot of people saying, well, we shouldn't have to wear makeup when we go online, and we shouldn't have to do this, and we shouldn't have to do, you know, dress up and stuff. It's like, well, you don't have to, but you get more confident when you start dressing the way that.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's called in NLP, it's called anchoring a state.
Yeah.
And so I can tell you now that I feel so much more confident dressing in a particular way. Going to, like, when I go to speak, for example, I love speaking at events. I'm not going to wear my leggings or tracky dacks, like, because I just don't feel, even though I'm sure I could still get clients who would be attracted to that, but for me personally, I feel more confident in dressing differently. And it's so right. You dress as your future. You know, if you're aiming for 7 figures, then start, you know, embodying that woman now. So if that means decluttering, if that means getting a personal trainer, if that means buying that power outfit, and you don't have to spend a lot of money. You could go to an op shop in a really expensive suburb and get a really good expensive outfit, like, you know, but start dressing as that multiple 7s, multiple 6, whatever your goal is. Start embodying that, because then you're going to start thinking like that.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Look, I completely agree with all of that. And I think, I mean, that's always stuck with me. Dress for the job you want, not the job you have. Because, you know, sometimes when you're in your early 20s and you just kind of roll out of bed and go to work, and your mum looks at you and goes, come on, Megan, you gotta, you know, you're like, but I'm always a receptionist. Come on. And it's like, no, but that's not what you're always going to be. And that's great advice. It really is.
It's great advice. Go your mum.
I say, as I'm sitting here, you know, we're in, you know, life of COVID and work from home, and it's, you know, there's a lot of pajamas and tracky dacks at the bottom half and dressing up at the top half these days. But, you know, what matters is dressing for the job I want.
Exactly. No, I hear you, right? I'm wearing my slipper socks right now, so I can tell you I won't be wearing those when you see me out and about, but I'm at home, so.
Yep. No, I think it's great. I think there's so much value in working with people that align with you and take you to that next level, because that's, I was working with a client yesterday, and what she does, she's the money lady, and we were talking about the roads. So basically she does road maps for people. Like, they know exactly where they want to go, the destination, no idea which road to take and what the stumbling blocks are and whether there's a traffic jam or not. And that's what those businesses need. They're looking at wanting to IPO, etc. The kind of people that we're working with, they just want to get noticed. They just want to be able to actually take in 5-6 figures every month and be able to distribute that in ways that matter to them. So it's about working with the people that are going to take you to that next level as well. I think aligning yourself, and the biggest thing, having that group of people that are on that journey with you as well. They'll never be your clients. You'll never make money from them.
Yes.
Not about that. It's about that support network, because without it.
Yes, and they challenge you. And that's the thing, is you also want your clients, I know people watching probably have different service or product-based businesses, but you want people to keep challenging you, so you keep having to get to that next level of you know, as well. And that might mean you need to surround yourself with people who are going places. And that's why I started up School of Impact, was to create this environment, this sisterhood, this team of women who are taking action every day. And we've got this gratitude challenge right now for this week in the group, where every day we write what we're grateful for, so that we can start to actually create more of that in our life. And it's important to have people around you who are on the same journey, because let's be honest, running your own business can be really lonely, especially if you're in the first few years and you don't have a team. And so we need to sometimes go into spaces where we can and pay for these spaces to get that support around us.
And the motivation, and we don't have KPIs. I can say to you, oh, I want to make 6 figures this year, but nobody's actually going to be tapping me on the shoulder saying, did you do it, Megan? It's all on me. So you need to have that accountability as well, whatever that looks like. It's not always monetary for it can be anything, but what are your KPIs and who's holding you account to them as well? I think it's, look, Megan, you and I, or Megan, sorry, we're on the same.
Megan, all good. It's funny because I'm Megan if you've got a British accent or American accent or anywhere in the world other than Australia, pretty much.
I'll answer to anything as long as it's not Meg.
Oh, no one calls me Meg either. Yeah.
No, Meg reminds me of Meg the Witch. It was a book and a cartoon back home in the UK, and I'm just like, no, I don't want to be Meg. Thank you.
I just don't feel like one, so that's why I wouldn't answer to it, because I wouldn't associate myself with a Meg.
The only person I ever let call me Megan, didn't say anything about it, was my personal trainer, but that was more because I was worried he was going to make me do more burpees or something. So I was like, you call me what you want.
Yeah. I love it. That's hilarious.
Thank you so much for your time. This has been really interesting. I'm going to put all of your links into the show notes for people who like to look at show notes, but for anyone who doesn't, can you just quickly tell everyone how they can find you?
Sure. So you can go to meganjaworski.com, or that's my website, or I'm active on Instagram at meganjaworski.xo. That's also my handle for Facebook as well. So, and on LinkedIn, I'm Megan Jaworski. I'm not sure what else you need to know on LinkedIn to find me, but yes, I'm also I'm getting active on LinkedIn now too. So
I like to hear that.
Yeah, I know, right? One of my clients is a LinkedIn expert, and she said to me, look, I don't want to say anything, but you really need to get more active on LinkedIn. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And it's so funny because that's her job, is to teach LinkedIn, and anyway.
How did you find me then?
Sorry?
You'd be like, how did you find me? Because it wasn't on LinkedIn, so something's working.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, it's Instagram's my preferred platform at this stage, but so definitely, and send me a message. I'd love to hear from you, either email or DM in Instagram or a message in LinkedIn. If something about this really connected with you, I'd love to hear from you.
Of course, I'll obviously check out School of Impact podcast as well. That's the name of your podcast.
Yeah. So I run the School of Impact podcast, where I do interviews and then I do solo episodes as well. And it's all about how we can make a bigger impact in this world. So I focus on, pretty much those three areas I spoke about before: mindset, wellbeing, and business as well. So check that out.
I love it. Thank you so much for your time, and we will speak soon.
Thank you so much, Megan. Speak soon.